Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer. Where do you come to get all your news? Washington Informer.
We're this week. It's amazing that while we're celebrating the fact that Black women are among those who are being considered for the vice presidential nominee, there's a lot of controversy going on around that. And just this week, top Black women leaders issued a open letter. And in it, they said that Black women are many things. We're business executives, political strategists, and elected officials, philanthropists, and activists. We are health and wellness practitioners. We are entertainers and faith leaders. We are wives, mothers, daughters, educators, and students. And we all are very proud of the power and the powerful that are among us. But this week, as I said, more than 1,000 Black women thus far have signed on to an open letter denouncing racist and sexist attacks against vice presidential candidates. So I'm happy to have with us today Jotaka Eaddy, who is the founder and CEO of Full Circle Strategies, LLC, a social impact consulting firm committed to advancing transformative change and global impact. And she is described as, you all know the TV show Scandal, where she's described as the Olivia Pope of Silicon Valley. She also previously served as the senior advisor to the president and CEO of the senior director for voting rights for the NAACP. That was a mouthful, Jotaka, but I'm so glad that you're here with us today. How are you doing? Hello? Can you hear us? All right. Sounds like we're having a little technical problem. Jotaka, can you hear me?
Hi, how are you?
Oh, good, good. You hear me now?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. I was getting worried because I was so looking forward to us having this conversation and having you here with representing the group hopes will be 10,000 Black women who will sign this open letter. Tell us about it.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you, Denise and the Washington Informer, for always telling the important news of the Black community and particularly Black women. So we thank you for just having us. And I am a representative of many women that have signed what we believe is a letter that the world should read, that the world should carefully watch, and should sign on and support. Just to provide context, and you shared, this is a letter that has been signed by and written by and signed by more than 500 Black women that are leading in every sector of this nation, Black women in business, Black women in tech, Black women in politics, Black women in faith, Black women in health, Black women in entertainment. And we have come together united, and we have come to share one message, that we will denounce and that we will speak out loudly and clearly against the racist and sexist attacks that have come to the Black women that have been named in the vice presidential pick process. We believe wholeheartedly that these comments have been derogatory. They have no place in the discourse and in the public narrative, and it's important that we speak out against those comments every time we see them and every way and everywhere that they arise.
I know that most recently, and we did an editorial here in the Informer, and it was even difficult to think about if we wanted to mention this mayor's name, and I don't want to have even a conversation about this recent incident. Well, I'll just say where Black women were described as Black women leaders, potential vice presidential nominees, or our potential vice president, labeled as Aunt Jemima. And so, are there other examples that you all have observed that maybe some of us have just missed?
Yes, Denise, and I think we're all seeing it, and it's happening over and over and over again. I mean, we see Bloomberg News with a headline asking if Senator Harris is, quote, too ambitious to be vice president, or you see the Politico making a statement that Congresswoman Karen Bass is the anti-Senator Kamala Harris, or comments that some of these candidates are too eager, or that these candidates are not apologetic enough. So we've seen this over and over again. And what's clear is that the Black women in this process have been subjected to a standard that no other quote candidate, if I must say, has been subjected to, and particularly not subjected to treatment that men in the past have been subjected to that have been a part of any vice presidential process. And so the questions of whether or not they're qualified, or questions about their personal characteristics and or their personal qualities have come into place. And we know these women are all very qualified. Any one of these women are qualified to be a governing partner to Vice President Joe Biden. But what we say in our letter and what we make very clear is that we have to denounce and we have to speak up against what we're seeing is racist and sexist attacks, and we know it's meant to undermine our collective power as Black women. I'll go on to say this. Black women have been and will continue to be a very strong and powerful force in this nation. Black women represent the highest propensity of voters in this country. There are 16 million Black women eligible to vote. We know the power of Black women, and we understand and know that what's happening is clearly meant to undermine that collective power of Black women. And also, we know very clearly that this is just dog whistle politics. We know what it means when someone calls us an Aunt Jemima. These are qualified, talented, brilliant women whose name have come forth in this process, and they deserve the respect that they have earned. And we have to honor these Black women, protect and support them.
Messages that you all have created that we hope that people will go and if they see them, to share them across their platforms as well. And this one essentially states, no, make no mistake, we will not tolerate racist or sexist tropes consistently utilized in an effort to undermine our power. And it's interesting because you mentioned the fact that Black women yield a lot of wield a lot of power at the voting box every election, and that's something that we, while we're talking against the racism and sexism, it sounds like this letter is also promoting that power that Black women have.
Absolutely. Black women are powerful. We're leaders. I think just looking at who signed this letter is just it shows the force and the strength and the power of Black women. The signatories of this letter range from Oscar winners to leaders in entertainment to leaders in the political aspect of our nation, leaders in movement building, leaders in education, leaders in the healthcare and the faith. It's a representation of the power that we are. But it's clear if you look at just the sheer numbers of the voting power of Black women, we have power. We've always had power. And as we reflected in this letter, uh, it has been Black women in both our history and our presence that have really propelled this nation forward. It was the power of Black women and their brilliance that took this nation to the moon. It's been the power and the brilliance of Black women that uh, have yielded some of the most ambitious and the most greatest moments in this nation. And so we should be proud of that historic power, and we should celebrate it and certainly not demean it in the ways that we have seen happen. And what we also want to be very clear is these attacks are coming from many places, and we also call on the media. The media should be ashamed of itself for perpetuating these stereotypes and these narratives, and it's important upon them to stop it as well, in addition to where it's coming from in the source.
So before we leave, I do want to ask, what happens with this collaborative, this collective of Black women, if by chance um, Biden selects a woman who is not a black woman as his running mate?
This collaboration and this group, it's a group of women, and I should note that we are a group of women that, regardless of who we think should be the vice presidential pick, are united in stating that we're very clear that this discourse and this racism and sexism and the treatment of the Black women in the process should not happen. So there are women that are supporting this letter and support this movement that may have another pick or another idea of who they think should be the vice presidential pick. And certainly, Black women will be paying attention. Certainly, there are many Black women who've been very vocal about their desire for this vice presidential pick to be a Black woman for a variety of reasons. I do believe that if it's not a vice presidential pick, I think that there are Black women that will be very vocal about disappointment. But I think it is very clear that there are many Black women that care very deeply about the direction of this nation, where this nation is going. And Black women will be committed to ensuring that issues of the that are important to Black women and a Black women's agenda is front and center of any and all candidates, and that we make very clear what our agenda is, and that we are out there ensuring that we do our part to ensure that the issues that we care about are at the forefront, and candidates that care about our issues receive our support.
And so, lastly, with this effort, which I think does garner a lot of attention to the political process and the role that Black women are playing, but what do we do to ensure that there's Black participation in November? That we actually get not only Black women, but get all people of particularly of color, Black people out to the polls in November.
It's going to be important that we reinforce what's at stake. I think we all know we're living in a moment right now where we have seen, more than 100,000, nearly 200,000 Americans of all races, of all ethnicities, of all across the economic spectrum that are no longer with us because of what many would believe has been the mishandling of a global pandemic in our country. We are seeing many people and across the country, at a point of just their economy and the economics of this country. People are struggling. We have people out of work. There are people who, and we realize with this pandemic where we don't have quality access to healthcare. And I think it's going to be important for us to put these issues out front and for us to understand as Black people what's at stake with this election, and important for everyone to know, where and how to vote. It's
Well, you've given us our challenge, and I especially appreciate you
information
saying where
with
is
the massive amount of Black people in the country that it's important that they register to vote, that they double check that they're still on the roll.
right. Thank you, Jotaka. We got a little mixed signal here, but you've given us, as far as the media is concerned, our marching orders, and yes, we want to make sure that all the voters know as much as they can about the candidates, and most importantly, to make sure that folks go out to the polls in November or by mail, whatever the process is going to be, but that they participate in November. I truly appreciate you being with us today. And let me ask you, if folks want to sign on to this letter or be supported, where do they go?
The letter, if you just follow the hashtag win with Black women, you can find the petition. You can also find us online and at Win with Black Women. We're on all social media, and you can follow us and you can find the petition. And we ask that you sign the petition in support of this open letter and add your name to the more than 500 Black women that are standing up against what we believe is just a narrative and just a set of public statements that do not belong in the public discourse as it relates to these qualified Black women that have been named in this process.
Wonderful. We're going to add that to our chat so that people will have that. And of course, we're going to be posting the other social media tags that you've given to us. So we appreciate. Oh, so I've been asked. Can you say it again, Jotaka? What are the two? ways in which they can sign on to the petition?
You can follow hashtag Win with Black Women, and you will be able to find the petition that way. And you can also find us at Win with Black Women. We're on all social media handles. You can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Okay. All right. We got it. Thanks so much.